So maybe example for your business, right? You could have the board game under one company, and then you have the education component under another company, and then you have the actual schooling, right, under another company, and they're all held by the same company because they were born out of the same idea. They're all interrelated, but you're running all three of those as separate entities, but they're all owned by the same group, right? Or the same people. Don't think about it yet because you got to make sure you grow that first company to be able to then start the next company and then figure out who should be holding or what entities should be holding both of those companies if you want to even tie them together in that sort of a way.
Welcome, Melanated Married Millionaires in the making and friends, to another impactful episode. We're about to go through and highlight a melanated married couple or just go through some lessons that we got. Make sure y'all tap in with the conversation. Queen, where can they go to tap in?
TheeM4Show.com.
Yes, ma'am. And make sure y'all follow us on Instagram. Queen, where can they follow us on Instagram?
TheeM4Show.
Now, if y'all haven't liked and subscribed, it would make the Queen very, very happy. If you can go ahead. Very? What should they do?
You should go ahead and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
It's free, and your first step to becoming a millionaire. Go ahead and click that button. And let's get into the show.
Let's do it.
A little bit of gloomy weather today. Wherever you are, hope it's nice and cozy inside the house. But welcome back to the M4 Show, Melanated Married Millionaires in the making. This morning, me and the Queen had to do some ultimate teamwork, right? So as some of y'all may know, and as Jair definitely knows in the background, we had a big order come in for Black Wall Street, the board game. Over 500 games were ordered by a single entity to be shipped out all across the nation. We'll give y'all the details in a second, but they had to go out today in order to make it before the holidays, right? So we did our teamwork. I was entering orders for the game. She was entering orders for the thank you cards. We had a whole little system going. And then at the end, we did a nice little high five. And it was just like, neither one of us could have done this alone, right? Neither one of us would have made the deadline if we were prideful and didn't ask for each other's help. And sometimes on your road to entrepreneurship, sometimes we're prideful. We don't ask for help. We don't ask for resources from other people, right? So today we brought on an amazing guest, a business coach, a business lawyer, who's also going to talk us through how you and how we, because y'all know we ask a lot of questions, so we can get value out of this podcast too, can get the most out of our LLC. All right, so without further ado, we're going to get into an amazing episode today. Get your notepad out, take notes, share this episode with another business owner or LLC owner that you know. And without further ado, let's get into the episode. Over 50% of Black Americans are unmarried, and only 2% of Black families in America have a net worth over $1 million.
We are on our journey to not only join that 2%, but grow that 2%.
Facts. I'm Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, with my beautiful co-host.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. You can go to our website at TheeM4Show.com, our Instagram at TheeM4Show, and our YouTube channel at Melanated Married Millionaires in the making.
And welcome to the M4 Show. All right, welcome back. We got Asha Wilkerson in the building, a business coach and business lawyer. Is going to help us get the most out of our LLC. But before we do that, we're going to highlight our small business sponsor of the week. If you're looking for an opportunity to invest in real estate, if you're looking for a team of real estate brokers and agents that have your back, you need to tap into the Chappelle Agency. They're out here in the IE Inland Empire of California, also work in Southern California. And if you're looking again for a broker, or you're wanting to get inside of the real estate market this year or early next year, make sure y'all tap into the Chappelle Agency. You can learn more by checking out their Instagram at the Chappelle Agency. You can go to their website, www.thechappelleagency.com. And you can also get a special discount code or a special discount when you head to their website by using the discount Buy and Sell with Chappelle. All right. We appreciate y'all being a small business sponsor of today's podcast. And we appreciate the amazing wisdom, nuggets, tangible advice that we are about to get from the amazing Asha Wilkerson. And again, huge disclaimer, right? This is not business advice. This is not legal advice. Please make sure you talk to your legal professionals and get advice before taking complete action on anything that you hear on today's podcast. But without further ado, let's welcome Asha to the stage, to the podcast. How you doing? How you feeling?
I am great. Thank you. And thank you for that disclaimer as well. You are absolutely right. Don't take it as legal advice, legal education, business education, but talk to your very own expert before you start acting on the information you learn.
Exactly. But getting right into it, first off, I wanted to thank you because you had me on your podcast not too long. It was like maybe 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
So, much love. Definitely make sure y'all tap into the Transcend podcast. But do you mind giving folks an introduction to one, why you became a lawyer? Because it's a long, hard journey that I know folks are going on. So why you became a lawyer, and then what makes you passionate about doing this work for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm the accidental attorney because my goal was never ever to be in law. I really enjoyed I loved watching Law and Order, but only because I liked the forensic part of it, right? I wanted to be Dr. Wong, the forensic psychologist, because I wanted to understand why people did the things that they did. So I thought I was going to be a high school English teacher coming out of college. And I got an opportunity to attend a pre-law undergraduate scholars program and happened to like the work that we did. I enjoyed, strangely enough, reading the cases and understanding why the judges decided what they did and how it applied to become a rule now that we had to follow. And I ultimately made the decision once I got into law school that would be one of the best ways to make a big impact. And of course, teaching is noble. I'm back in teaching now, but I felt like I could either litigate, I could write policy, I could represent a plaintiff, I could represent a defendant, I could be a voice for the voiceless. So it provided me many opportunities to be able to help people using my legal background. And speaking of being a voice for the voiceless, I started out wanting to do human rights work, civil rights work. I did a lot of that in law school, and then then didn't get any jobs with the UN or abroad like I really wanted to, and ended up litigating in Walnut Creek, California for an insurance defense firm. So that meant if your insurance had to be involved in the insurance company, or you needed to sue somebody, let's say a tree fell on your house, right, and the neighbor didn't want to pay for it, we would represent those folks. I also represented doctors and hospitals, and then struck out on my own and realized after I got into business and forming LLCs and corporations for people, I felt like I was dropping people off, right? I was giving them this tool, but they didn't understand how to use this tool. And quite frankly, neither did I. I knew how to form the business on the legal side, but I didn't understand all of the benefits that you had besides legal protection of forming an LLC or a corporation. And I thought, well, Black and brown folks, we're working hard. We need some more money. We need some more wealth. How about I learn how to use this tool to help people create generational wealth? And so that started me down the path of business coaching, focusing specifically on Black and brown communities.
Love it. And then how did you pivot that into the Transcend podcast, or how does the Transcend podcast kind of amplify your mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest things as an attorney, especially if you're not litigating, right, is getting people to come to you for information before it's too late. And one of the things people talk about in business is, what are you going to do to help inspire or build an audience before they actually need you? And one of the best ways to get the good information out there, free information out there, is through a podcast or, social media or whatever. But I like using a podcast the best for that. So people can listen to it when they're on the move, they can go back and listen to it. And it's a good platform for me to be able to just spit out all the information I know and get it to the people.
Right. And first off, if you're just listening, you can't really get the full value and experience of this podcast. But Asha's camera is so crystal clear. There's like every single pixel in the universe is right there on the screen, and it's like 3D. So we got to step up our game over here on the camera. We got to do better, Jair. Oh man. But you started off telling people, you wanted to not just help them create the LLC structure and not just here's your LLC, I'm gone, but you wanted to help them get the most, squeeze all the value out of their LLC as possible. So I really want to take a deep dive today, Asha. Right? I know there's thousands, millions of people out there who have LLCs, and a lot of them probably aren't taking advantage of everything that they could be getting out. So can we, I don't know how high level, how deep we want to go, but can we start off by just like listing some of those big benefits?
Yeah,
LLC
absolutely.
has?
Yeah. So I'll start out with what is an LLC? An LLC in California is a limited liability company, and it does what it sounds like. It limits your liability as a business owner. Now, one thing I get a lot is people go, oh, well, I'm probably not going to get sued, or, I don't have anything to protect. But you don't always have to mess up to be on the receiving end of a lawsuit. It could be that someone ate something that you made and they were allergic and didn't know. Now they want someone to pay for their medical bills. It could be that you've invited people into your shop, they slip and fall, and insurance says, nope, you should have been mopping up the rain, done a better job. This is on you to make it better. Other folks also say, well, if I don't have anything, so even if they sue me, so what, right? But just because you don't have anything now doesn't mean that it can't be a judgment that's attached, that when you do have something, the other person now has first rights to it when you decide to sell it, like a home or even your credit score, stuff like that, right? So a limited liability company limits your legal liability. So if there is a lawsuit, it means that the business is responsible for the lawsuit and not you personally, as long as you are acting within your role in whatever your role is as the business owner or working for the business. It also allows you to do things like open up retirement accounts that we'll talk about later. LLCs and corporations are taxed differently than individuals. So you can be really, really savvy with how you're using your LLC to adjust your tax liability. And that's not anything shady. That's just understanding how the tax code works and using it to your advantage. Business owners get more advantages because, in theory, we're the ones who are creating jobs as opposed to W-2 employees, right? We're the recipients of the jobs. And so there aren't that many tax breaks that you can get as a W-2 employee. So a limited liability company or corporation really is a tool that you can use, that every business owner that we look up and envy has a legal entity protecting themselves. They can grow, they can get investors, they can give pieces of the company away for investment, just like Google and Facebook. You want to buy stock in those? Well, now you're part owner of the company, even though you have no say. It's one way to fundraise money. You can sell it later, right? Tech companies in the tech world, people know, I'm going to start this company up and my goal is to have it acquired. That same thinking doesn't always happen in non-tech companies, but that's something to think about. You don't have to run this business for the rest of your life. You can sell it later, use it as part of your retirement plan, that kind of thing. So LLCs and corporations, legal entities, are definitely very beneficial and necessary if you want to be serious about building your success, your financial success as a business owner. I can't remember exactly what the first question was, and I think I said a lot. So redirect me if I'm off. Okay, so I definitely lost Devon, but I'm going to keep going because we talked about our questions ahead of time. So the next question on our list is, how do you set up a 401k or a Roth IRA, or an IRA for your LLC? So as I mentioned just a minute ago, LLCs are great tools to be able to use to build wealth in your business. One of the things that you can do is you can set up a retirement account. So I often get that a lot of folks aren't, they're building this business themselves. They are super personally invested in the business, and that makes sense. But there comes a point when you need to separate yourself from your business, even especially when you have an LLC, and think of your business as if it were some other entity. So if you were going to work for Trader Joe's, let's say, for example, or going to work for Facebook, what are some of the benefits that you would want if you were going to apply for a job with another company? one of those things that we talk about very often is retirement account. Everyone wants to know, what's the employer matching for the retirement account? That's super important. You can set up your own retirement account through your LLC or corporation as well. There are some options for sole proprietors. You have more options when you have an LLC or a corporation. So as an LLC owner, you could set up a solo 401k. You could set up a regular 401k if you plan to have other business owners. You can also set up something called a SEP IRA, which is a simplified employee pension individual retirement account. Now, the 401ks, you probably heard a lot about those because those are the most common with business owners when you are an employee. So most businesses set up a 401k, and you're talking about employer match. You can do that for yourself as an LLC owner as well. And the beauty of it is, because you are in control, you can decide how much of a match you want. In theory, you could probably match yourself up to 100%. You can match 50%, right? It just depends on how much money is available in your business to be able to match your retirement account. Also, though, you're also subject to the limits of the 401k. So I think right now it's $20,500 per year. It keeps going up, might be a little bit more than that now. Another option to explore is a SEP IRA. The really cool thing about a SEP IRA is that you can contribute 25% of each owner's income in the business up to, I think it's now $60,000 a year. But there are pros and cons on both the 401k and the SEP IRA. The 401k, there's a maximum that's like $20,000, a little bit more. The SEP IRA, the maximum is $57,000 or 25% of your income, which is more. But with the SEP IRA, everybody who's an owner or an employee of the company gets to do that. Everyone who's an owner of the company gets to contribute up to that much. With a 401k, you can stack a little bit more. Only full-time employees get to take advantage of this, or, after you've vested so many years in the company, you can do this. The rules are different from each. And so you would want to take a look at what are your goals in terms of company growth, ownership growth, financial growth, retirement, right? And then talk to an expert about these retirement accounts and see what is going to be the best one for you.
All right, we're going to get back to the episode in a second, but breathe if you've ever had a brilliant idea. I'm pretty sure everybody just took a breath right there, right? Because we all have amazing ideas, but I got a question for you. What's stopping you from taking that idea and actually making it into a business, actually executing on your brilliance? My name is Truvel, and in 2018, I was able to create, market, and sell my own product while still working a 9-to-5. And through the years, I've taken the lessons we've learned, the expensive webinars that I've gone to, and the dozens of business books that I've read, and I've discovered 7 simple steps to launch your business. If you're ready to take your business idea to the next level and make it real and start making profit from your passion, head to www.launchitcommunity.com and grab yourself the book. We've been able to make it very simple, affordable, and easier than ever to start that business while still working your 9-to-5. And we take entrepreneurs every single Friday and we talk to them. We teach them about how to use social media. We teach them about how to set up their Instagram account, how to use Shopify, how to use Printful, and other tools that can help you take your business to the next level, but not take tons of time away from your 9-to-5 and your busy life that you already have. So if you're ready to take that idea to the next level, make sure you head to www.launchitcommunity.com, get yourself a book, and join our free accountability calls. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So Devon is back.
Yeah, and we prayed before this podcast too. We prayed for no technical difficulties, and the internet definitely said, right. Shut that down. But I wanted to kind of just circle back and thank you for getting into the retirement planning. I think sometimes we get so used to the American structure of, okay, I'm gonna work for a corporation for 20 years, for 30 years, and that's how I get my retirement. That's how I get my safety. And it's not presented to us or taught to us that you can create your own retirement account.
Right.
The same work and the same 30 years that you give to a Nike, a Disney, a Pepsi, you can give to a Play Black Wall Street, you can give to a Asha Wilkerson law office, and work there for 20, 30 years and have the same retirement.
Right.
What do you think stops people from being entrepreneurs and investing in their own future?
Yeah. So the first thing I think is it's a really small percentage of the population that's actually entrepreneurs. If my numbers are correct in my memory, which is a little faulty, it might only be like 8% of the US population is entrepreneurs. And I feel like it feels big for us because we're in that community. But, you know, a college professor asked a class one time, he said his grandmother told him or asked him, "Are you educated or are you schooled?" Right. And that's kind of a profound question. Educated means you know how to look up things, think for yourself, think critically, find things out and make your own decisions. Schooled means that you have been taught how to fall in line. That's my definition of it. I think most of us are schooled. And also, a lot of our parents and grandparents didn't have a lot of choices about how they were going to make an income for themselves. So a lot of people don't think about being an entrepreneur because it's tough. It's not easy, right? You have to go through the ups and downs of, well, this idea, it didn't work that I want. I'm not making the money that I want. Can I pivot or do I go and find quote unquote security in another position, right? So it's just not as widely celebrated in our culture, I believe, until someone has made it. But we don't talk about the journey of what it takes to get there. And our parents always want what's best for us. Job security for my parents' generation was going to work for a business for 30, 40 years and retiring with enough money to live off of for the next 20, right? Our generation doesn't have job security like that. We don't have pensions like they used to. You know, there's no business loyalty and there's no employee loyalty either. So I think it's a shift in thinking and just a radical belief in yourself that you can figure it out and that you will be successful.
Oh, a radical belief in yourself. I don't want that to just slip by.
Right.
You need to have a radical belief in yourself and what you are able to achieve. What helped you as, you know, start your own podcast, your law office? Like, how did you get that radical belief in yourself?
Well, and I can tell you, sometimes it wavers, right? It's not that it's always steady or constant, but I think that there's an underlying understanding that I can figure it out. I'm resilient. I'm a problem solver. And there are some really smart people in this world, but most of the successful people have just been consistent. They've been resilient. It's not necessarily that they've all come up with some earth-shattering idea or created something from nothing. A lot have, but a lot of people are franchise owners. They bought into a restaurant and continued to work it. They created a candle company because out of passion and continued to grow it and scale it, right? It doesn't have to be super complicated, but you do have to believe in the path that you're on and believe in yourself. Not that you're going to get it right every single time, but that you will get it right more often than not, and that your dreams are actually possible. I think it's Henry Ford, right, who said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And that's 100% true in entrepreneurship. It's not about, can you do it? It's, are you willing to put in the work to make it happen?
Love it. And so I do want to make it, because there's some people listening here that are going to be like, oh, I'm ready. I'm an entrepreneur. I was just ready for the right word, for the right step. And then there's other folks that maybe they need to start off by just doing maybe a side hustle. Right. Maybe they need to work their 9 to 5 for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years while building their business. Are there still benefits to having a 9 to 5 job where you're paying taxes, you're going to work, you maybe have a retirement account, but you also have this LLC structure that can do a lot of the same stuff? How does that maybe work? Okay.
Yeah. So one of the challenges that we particularly face, especially in the Black community and probably in the Latinx community too, is funding, right? You cannot start a business with no money. So whether that's self-funding or having an investor or some other option like family investments and stuff, you need money to start a business. You need money for the equipment that you're going to use. You need money to pay the bills while you figure it out, while you try and get some customers and things like that. So a number of people have started or have kept their 9-to-5s while they've slowly built their business on the side. That also, I think, helps to take some of the pressure off of the business and trying to make it, make $1 million by year 3. When you don't need the money from the business, then you become more detached from the challenges, and then you can look at the challenges as like, all right, let me solve this problem because your needs are met in some other place. So there's definitely a benefit of continuing to keep your 9-to-5 and starting the side hustle for sure. The other thing that's great about having a 9-to-5 and starting an LLC is that when you have an LLC, the way that it's taxed, it's called a disregarded entity, meaning that you have the legal protection like a corporation, but you get taxed, or you're personally responsible on your personal income tax return for paying the taxes from the business. So what does that mean? In simple terms, it means that all of the income you're earning from the LLC and from your 9-to-5, your W-2 job, gets looked at under one umbrella. And the benefit of having the LLC is that if you are not profitable year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, then that reduces your overall tax liability. So you're putting all the money that you've earned or haven't earned from the LLC in with the pot of money that you've earned from your W-2. Also together, if you're married or filing jointly with someone, all of that gets combined together. And if you have lost money in your LLC, that reduces your overall tax liability. On the flip side, of course, if you are profitable, then that also gets put into the general pot of money. But because you have this legal entity filed, you can take advantage of different tax write-offs. So all of the business expenses that you have become a tax write-off. They reduce your overall tax liability. They're a business expense. Some things like meals are 100% tax deductible, at least through the remainder of this year. Equipment, I don't know if that's 100% or maybe, some kind of percentage. You should definitely talk to a certified public accountant or an enrolled agent about that. But you get to write off stuff. Every time you use your phone, everyone's using their phone for business or for social media at this point. Put your phone bill under a business expense, and now that can reduce your overall tax liability. So there's some strategic benefits to having an LLC, especially if it's just you who's running the LLC. And oftentimes we're always doing work in the business. So most of our lives, I say that with caution, talk to an expert, but a lot of the things that we do with our lives can be written off as a business expense. But if you need to know how to do it, what the categories are, and talk to an expert so they can file it for you. Whereas if you're just doing it as a sole proprietor and you're claiming a loss, the government is more likely to audit you because you don't get to get a tax deduction for a hobby. And so the government's rule, the IRS's rule that says if you're a sole proprietor, you have to be profitable in 5 out of the last 7 years. Otherwise, you have a hobby. You got to make a profit in 5 out of the last 7 years. Otherwise, it's just a hobby and you don't get to claim that. As an LLC, you have told the government, I'm in business and I'm doing my best and I didn't make it profit this year. And that's okay because you've already let them know that you're in business. So there's a few advantages to starting out as a side hustle and then growing your business from there.
Yeah, so I want to just ask a follow-up. So as an LLC, and this is great news. As an LLC, there is no 5 out of 7 years of being profitable before the IRS is like, you know what, this is a hobby, and they shut it down.
Nope. No. But you do have to think for LLC and corporations, right? Because you'll see all these Instagram advice givers about how you could buy a private jet for, that definitely talk to an expert. You can buy things through your business, like a car or lease a car, or buy new equipment, but it has to make sense for what money you're bringing into your business. So if you're claiming that you've lost $20,000 in your business, but you just bought this car through the business, you probably shouldn't be buying a car if the business is not profitable. So those are the kinds of things that don't make sense that will lead someone to get audited. But there is no requirement as an LLC owner that you are profitable. So you could always run a business at cost. That's actually happening. I was talking to a chiropractor who's looking to buy the chiropractic business that he's working for. The owner has zeroed out all of the expenses because he and his wife have filed together. And so like our business is not profitable. That reduced his tax liability. But now the person who's buying is trying to get a loan from a bank. And the bank says, why would you buy this business that's not profitable? That doesn't look good for us. It is profitable, but the way that they've classified the deductions and expenses on paper makes it look like it's not profitable. So you do want to be strategic about how you're filing your taxes and what you're thinking about looking from today all the way out, I would say 5 to 10 years.
Nice. And I do want to give folks a little bit of a strategy. Again, this is all advice. Definitely talk to your professionals, right? But if you have your 9-to-5 job, whether you're a teacher, you're a lawyer, you're a firefighter, you're a police officer, whatever it is, you're being taxed on that income, right? But maybe you do have a passion. One day you want to start a YouTube blog, a podcast, a board game company, whatever it is. Encourage you to start the LLC structure even before you're prepared for the business, right? Go ahead and start to go to some conferences, learn about the industry, start networking. You get your business email, start handing that out to people. And now while you're traveling, right, to these different conferences, seeing the world, seeing the nation, those are also tax write-off.
Yeah. So California, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. You're the expert. Go ahead.
So in California, one of the questions that I hear all the time is, what about this $800 tax? What about this fee? I don't want to pay this fee in California and I'm not making any money yet. So what do I do? So to clarify, the $800 is a minimum tax in California. Sometimes it gets called a fee, but it really is a minimum tax. And that means that even if you make $0 in California, you're going to pay at least $800 in taxes. You got to pay to play, right? So all businesses in California are taxed at least $800 a year, no matter what their income is. So that scares a lot of people because they don't think they're going to make money, or because $800 seems like a lot. But if you're really serious about running a business, $800 would be the least of your worries, right? You go into business knowing that you're going to be profitable, and $800 is going to be a drop in the bucket. Like, let's just change our mindset about that. But I will tell you, though, that until January 1st, 2024, California has waived the minimum $800 tax for LLCs. So if you are on the fence about filing, this is a really great time to be able to file your LLC, because for 2023, you will not have to pay the minimum tax if you don't make any money in the business. And also through June, I think it's probably June 1st, 2023, there's no filing fee to start your business in California. So you don't even have to pay the $70 plus the $5 certified copy fee to start your LLC in California. So now's a good time. If you're looking for a message, for a sign, this is it. You got it.
Today is the day. Yes, go to www.thewilkersonlawoffice.com if you need support in creating your entity. And again, no $800 minimum tax, y'all. So Jair, we've been talking. This is the year, right? Vern, we've been talking. This is the year, right? Maya, we've been talking. This is the year. These are all people that we've worked with to help coach and build their business idea up, but they haven't created the entity yet. This is here, y'all.
Yeah. And let me circle back too. Sorry, what you said about like starting to do the networking and starting the business before you're actually really ready to start the business. That's so important, because there have been a handful of times where I've created a product, didn't build up the audience, and then I didn't have anyone to sell it to. Right. So it's like, build up your audience, build up your network, because when you do it, you do actually need someone to sell it to. And it's easier if you can build up the audience before you actually have the product for them, because now you have a captive audience that is looking for whatever you have coming down the pipeline.
100%. Build it and they will come. No, the reverse. They build a community and then build it. Is that what you're saying?
Build a community and then they will come to buy from you.
There it is.
I'm struggling. It's Sunday.
It's Sunday. It's raining. The internet's fighting us. But something that I say almost every week, right? And you let me know if I'm wrong. 100%. No hard feelings. You let me know, Asha, if I'm incorrect in this statement.
Okay.
I think every single family should have an LLC structure.
I think so too.
All right. Thank you. Come on. And the queen's not here to see this. And for the folks that are listening, that are watching, the queen is out doing some amazing work for the team. She'll be joining hopefully by the end of the podcast, but she's shipping out over 500 games. So she's doing work for the squad right now. However, she's losing this argument in this current podcast. Can you break down from your perspective, your opinion, why you think every family should have an LLC structure?
Yeah. So, well, let me clarify it, that, or qualify it. You need to have a business that you're going to do, right? So you can't just have an LLC within a family and not have a business, because it's only for businesses. But I think it's so important to teach our kids, so we didn't necessarily learn this stuff as we were growing up. And now, as we're talking about it, we can show our children what it looks like to have a business, what it looks like to not be afraid of the administration of running a business, right? The more that we educate ourselves and empower ourselves, the fear disappears because it's familiar to you. And all it takes really is getting in there, making a couple mistakes, learning from those mistakes, and then feeling competent about what it is that you're doing. But every wealthy family that I can think of has a business that they have been able to pass down from generation to generation, or has a business where the kids have been beneficiaries of that worth from generation to generation, whether they're actually running it or not. Another thing that wealthy families too do also is that they create a trust that now owns the LLC or the corporation. And so the family members are the beneficiaries of the trust, no matter who is running the business. So these are these tools.
Can we slow that piece down?
Yeah.
Because you're talking real good now. So LLC structure, or some type of business structure.
Right.
But you're saying most wealthy families also have a trust that's over that. What is the benefit of that?
So a trust is also a legal entity, not a business entity, but it's a legal entity that says the trust holds assets, right? So it can hold a business, it could hold property, it could hold tangible and intangible items. But the person who runs the trust can be the same, or it can be different from the people who are beneficiaries of the trust. What we hear about just kind of in the news and stuff is trust fund kids, right? Trust funds are financial funds that have been set up in somebody else's name. The kids are the beneficiaries, even though they're not the ones who are actually administering or running the trust. And so that means that no matter what happens, that money that gets put in the trust fund is only for the named beneficiary. So that you can have a trust for your family's assets, right? I created a trust for myself. I don't have any kids yet. I'm not married anymore. I still have the property that I own in an LLC, and those LLCs are owned by the trust. So that means whoever I name as my trust beneficiary becomes automatic owner. Because they become the beneficiary of the trust when I pass away, and now they become automatic owner of the businesses without having to go and change any paperwork about the actual LLC ownership, right? So they automatically, like, I have a couple rental properties and I named my mom as the beneficiary. If something happens to me, my mom automatically gets the income from the rental properties, and she can decide whether she wants to keep tenants in there, sell the properties, whatever. But it doesn't have to go through court, through the long process called probate, to determine who the rightful heir should be, which costs thousands of dollars, right? And she automatically gets the benefit. So if we're really seriously talking about generational wealth, we need to really think about what are the tools that we can use to protect what we have, to start something, protect it, and then pass it on. And I get it. Our communities, we're not taught a lot about this information, which is why it's so important to stay connected to, the M4 show and follow those people, get in contact with those people who are doing what it is that you want to do, and ask questions. Ask stupid questions. There are no stupid questions. Ask stupid questions, right? Yeah. Ask uninformed questions. I went into the estate planning attorney's office and I have some idea, because I am an attorney, but I'm not an estate planning attorney, and said, this is the vision of what I want to do. What are the tools that I can use to make this happen? He said, I think this will fit. I said, done. Do it. Right.
Look, we're going to get right back into the amazing podcast. But if you didn't know, in 2017, we created Black Wall Street, the board game, because we thought more families needed to know about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. More families needed to know about the legacy of Black excellence left behind of Tulsa Black Wall Street, that we can own a Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Salon. We can have a Booker T. Washington High School. We can have an Uncle Steve's Barbecue. We can have a Renaissance man like Simon Berry, who had his own taxi service and bus service that got bought out by the city of Tulsa. We have brilliance in our DNA. We wanted to make sure that your family can play a game that teaches them about this brilliance. So we have Black Wall Street, the board game, right here. We had the first edition available in 2017 that got sold out. We're on the second edition right now, or you can get the beautiful masterpiece version of the game as well. It's up to you. Head to playblackwallstreet.com and get yourself Black Wall Street, the board game, to empower you, your family, and generations to come. Playblackwallstreet.com. Let's get back to the episode.
So I think and you said a lot of great stuff. First off, congrats on the rental properties and the real estate portfolio. Well done. Well done. But it's so important for us to know how to pass down the wealth, not just create the wealth, not just create the entity, not just, create the podcast and all those things. But what happens when inevitably you pass away, you go on to glory? How can you now give your kids or your next of kin?
Right.
I think a will is something that's more, not marketable, but I feel like most people know about what a will is, and it's cheaper to get.
Right.
Would you advise or suggest your opinion, a will versus a trust? What's the difference, and which one do both?
Yeah, okay. You do both, because the trust is a legal entity that holds the property, right? And so when something happens, you go into the bank and say, okay, here's the death certificate, or this person's incapacitated right now and can't make any decisions. I'm the person who's supposed to administer all of these things. And so they allow you access to the accounts and things that happen, right? The will says where things are going to go once the person passes away. But the trust says, this is what's in the trust, this is what's protected, and this is what the person is going to get. So you do both of them at the same time. And I'll tell you, it's probably not as expensive as you think it's going to be. I think I paid like $700 for the one that I did, which was a lot less expensive than I anticipated. I thought it was going to be like $3,000 or $4,000, and it wasn't at all. So, and then once you create it and you acquire more property, you can just move that property into the name of the trust, right? So it's not really complicated. It's just something that has to be done, and go to an expert for it.
Nice.
The other thing too, you were talking about, starting a business within a family, and we're, a lot of times we look at like these big wins, right? And passing down empires, but there are so many side hustles, whether it's like Rodan and Fields or Mary Kay, or do people still do Herbalife, that kind of stuff, right? That you can do. You can get into these kinds of businesses and still run them as an LLC instead of just an independent contractor, because then you're able to write off more. And especially if you have children, in California in particular, maybe nationwide, you can pay your children tax-free in California under the age of 18. So if you have, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old who loves social media, put them to work. If you have a storefront, or you want someone to help you with your packaging and boxing up stuff, or going to the post office, put them to work, put them on payroll. If they are employed with you, then you have the opportunity to open up a minor's retirement account, right? And you can direct all of their funds or some of their funds into their minor's retirement account. And that becomes a way. You have to make the money in the business, but you can pay them and they're not taxed on it. And you're not, I think you're taxed on a couple things, but not the full scope of having an adult employee. Or you can open up a minor's brokerage account. I think it's a brokerage account. I'm trying to think of the exact name. And you can pay them and have them put money in this brokerage account. They don't have to wait for retirement age to access the money. There are a number of benefits of having an LLC, having a business. You got to have a business and then protect it with the LLC, especially when you have kids, right? Because you get to teach them how to do it and you get to help them grow financially for something you're already doing, right? Something they're probably there anyway, being voluntold to help you, right?
Yep.
So pay them a little bit, and whether that becomes the spending money that they're using to have fun during the week, or you are telling them or sort of forcing them to put it into retirement, take advantage of the system.
Yes, use the structure, right? Because instead of giving them the $20 cash, $100 cash out of your pocket, actually have that payroll so that you can reduce your tax liability, y'all. Man, this is beautiful. So what if so kids is an obvious choice, at least for families, like definitely hire your kids as employees. But what if they just want to hire people, family, contractors under the LLC? Do you have any suggestions or thoughts with hiring an employee versus hiring an independent contractor?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of people go right to contractor because they think it's cheaper. But in California, there's a clear legal distinction between an independent contractor and an employee. So think about it like this. Whatever work needs to be done in your business and you're hiring someone to do the work that has to be done in the business, they're more than likely going to be an employee. So as an attorney, if I want to hire a legal assistant or a paralegal to help me do my work, that's what I do. I do legal work. I'm asking them to help me do legal work. They're an employee. But somebody who's working on the business, right? Kind of at the higher end level, maybe they're doing marketing, maybe they're helping with my podcast, or I'm hiring them as a CPA because they're working on the business and not in the business. I could hire them as an independent contractor. So contractors typically have a different kind of business than what you have. They are working independently. So you might be telling them what project you want done, but you're not supervising them and telling them how it needs to be done. They typically have their own equipment, their own skill set that's in a different industry. They have more than one client. So they're not just working for you, but they're working for a number of people because it's their business. Those folks are contractors, which means you pay them an hourly or a project rate, and you're not paying taxes on them. They are responsible for paying all of their own taxes. When you have an employee, that's somebody who's necessary for their business. In California, a couple years ago, we had that big vote about whether Uber drivers and Lyft drivers should be employees or independent contractors. It's because it's in direct violation of current California law. I don't understand how a company that is based on rides, right? They're giving rides, can pay according to the law, can pay their drivers as contractors when it's a ride share company. Like, you don't have a ride share company if you don't have people driving the car, right? So California law says that they should actually be employees. They haven't changed yet. They're in litigation and held up and all that stuff, but that's going to make a big difference for the company. So people want to fly under the radar screen, and I get it because they think it's cheaper. It might be, unless you get caught. If you get caught, it's definitely not worth it. So understand like what the cost is and the benefit of hiring somebody as an employee, and be clear about what they're doing, and then talk to an expert before you make that call, and make sure that you're doing it correctly.
Beautiful. Listen, y'all, I hope you're taking notes. This has been, and it's not over yet. We're still going, but I just want to make sure y'all are taking notes and y'all follow Asha Wilkerson, ESQ Esquire on Instagram. And then, of course, check out her website, www.thewilkersonlawoffice.com, y'all. If you want to continue to stay connected, tap into her podcast, the Transcend Podcast. Listen to her gems, her wisdom, as she supports the Black and Brown community out here. So I wanted to circle a little backwards, if I can. Can I rewind a little bit, Asha?
Sure, of course.
Okay. Because we talked about trust funds, or we talked about creating a trust, an entity. Something that I've seen, I think his name was Dennis Carlton on YouTube. Yeah, he's another certified CPA doing a lot of great work out there. But he talks about putting your company in holding companies. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with a holding company versus putting it in a trust, and if there's benefits, pros and cons to either action.
Yeah, so that gets a little bit complicated, and I would say that's big business in a sense, right? So when you think of a holding company, think about like Gap, Banana Republic, Old Navy, and Athleta, right? They're all part of the same brand, but they have 4 different businesses. The holding company is Gap Holdings Inc. I think it's Gap Holdings Inc. But they have one umbrella company that sort of oversees or really just holds these other 4 entities, and they all run independently, but they're all owned by the same umbrella organization. And a holding company does just that. It just holds the companies. It's not really a management company. There's probably a board, people who are looking at the numbers, right? And so that could be a good option for somebody who has a brand and a business. Let's say it's like, so maybe example for your business, right? You could have the board game under one company, and then you have the education component under another company, and then you have the actual schooling, right, under another company, and they're all held by the same company because they were born out of the same idea. They're all interrelated, but you're running all 3 of those as separate entities, but they're all owned by the same group, right, or the same people. So in that kind of situation, that might make sense because it makes it maybe easier to do the taxes. It's the holding company that ends up paying the taxes because it's the owner, and then the people who are the owners of the holding company get the benefits and also the liabilities, right, from there. I would say definitely talk to an attorney and a CPA who understands when it's worth it to make that happen. So for folks just starting out, I don't think about it yet, because you got to make sure you grow that first company to be able to then start the next company and then figure out who should be holding or what entities should be holding both of those companies if you want to even tie them together in that sort of a way.
Got it. Good stuff, y'all. All right, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of a break, Asha. Right. I'll give you a little bit of a break. We've been shooting questions actually left and right. So we're going to enter into our Ask Declare segment, and I will do my best to represent the Queen as well. But this is your opportunity to go ahead and ask us any questions related to health, wealth, or even our relationship journey on this side as a unit. So I'll pass it to you for the questions so you can get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, let's see. So I would say, what advice do you have for people who are thinking about going into business with their partner?
That's good. So we just did our, slight plug, not really a plug because you can't register anymore, but we did our $1 Million Marriage Challenge, where we had our partners Snooki and Lovey come over, Snooks and Lovey come and talk to us about personality assessments and really knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your partner, but also knowing how they're going to react in a stressful time, right? So I would say that's my number one bit of advice for folks. If you're starting a business with your spouse, you need to know who is going to do what, where is somebody strong in. Like, for example, Sinclair, strong superhero when it comes to operations, logistics, detail-oriented tasks, strong. Me, my head starts to hurt when it's too many details, Asha, I'll be honest with you. But when it comes to, podcast interviews, when it comes to creativity, when it comes to writing books, creating board games, like just production of things, that's where I live. So I'm able to just produce things and then go to her afterwards and figure out the logistics on how we make it a reality. But something that we needed to learn, or I needed to learn, was one, her love language and how she likes to be treated and talked to in the relationship, but also in business. Right. And I think I was doing well in the relationship, but then when it came to business, I wasn't realizing that she's a words of affirmations person. So even in business, I need to make sure I'm giving her words of affirmation and not just do this, or I need this, or I need this. It's no, you did a great job at this. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You were excellent when it came to this, but I also need this, so just
Right.
learning that approach.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my overall advice for folks. Like, learn each other's personalities, learn each other's love language, and divide tasks and responsibilities based on what you know of each other.
Yeah, that's good. Do you think that a couple could go into business together if they're not both equally motivated to do it?
Ooh,
Right. So if one's like, I have this vision for us, babe, I just need a little bit, like, come on, we could change our lives. And the other person's like, I mean, okay, I'll try it. But they're doing it because they want to make the other person happy or make them feel supported, but it's not their own passion. Do you think that could work?
I think it can work, but I think it requires a authentic level of love. Because if you don't have the same motivation, the same vision, I think that's fine. But at the end of the day, if you still love that person and that's that person's mission, that's that person's dream, then you're going to do what you can to support them. And I think that you bring up a really great point, because that can really test the relationship, right? If I'm saying this is my dream, I want to, teach the world about Tulsa Black Wall Street and educate our youth on financial literacy, and you're like, okay,
right,
you have fun, I'm not going to help you. Like,
right.
That I don't think that's a partner that maybe was meant for you, right? Mm-hmm. So the Queen and I think the financial literacy aspect has been a little bit more on my side as far as a motivator or a mission, a dream. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't have the exact same drive when it comes to that particular mission, mm-hmm. but she's there, right? In the early mornings, she's helping me out. We're traveling all around. She's booking the flight. She's doing whatever she can because she has that love for me, mm-hmm. and vice versa for her. She loves to dance and she loves health. I'm not too into salads like that. I'm not too into dancing like that. But when she has her dance classes, I'm there. I'm recording. I'm making the social media flyers. Right. When she wants to do her health posts, I do what I can to support because I love her. Right. So yeah, I would say the motivation doesn't have to be equal, but the love mm-hmm. has to be unwavering for sure, yeah. or else it's going to be huge tension.
Yeah, and it sounds like finding ways to support that are comfortable for each person, right? So maybe it's not that we're both up at 6 a.m., doing the boxes, but if I know you're up at 6 a.m. and maybe I can make breakfast for you to make it a little bit easier, right? Or I can take the pictures that you need for this, even though I have no desire to be all over social media. And I want to say also, it's okay not to go into business together too. If that's not something that you think is likely to enhance the relationship, it's okay to also have these things that are separate as well.
Oh, 100%. I love what you said, because this is kind of, I wake up at 5:50 a.m. virtually every day. Mm-hmm. And I start working. I start my meditation, my push-ups, my workout, all of that. And the Queen's been very adamant, and Jair knows this too. She's not waking up that early.
Right.
Right. And she's like, you better float yourself out of bed. Do not wake me up mm-hmm. at 5:50 when you wake up. Let me get my sleep and I'll join you when I can.
Right.
But yeah, I love that you don't have to have the exact same habits, the rhythm. You don't have to be working with each other, but however you can support, please do. Right.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? I know you had, and again, an amazing podcast episode where you were asking really good questions. What episode? Do you know what episode number that was, Asha?
For your I should. It wasn't too long ago. I could probably look it up real quick.
Oh man, but definitely check out the Transcend podcast. I was able to go in, and there were some emotions flowing.
Oh yeah,
right? We got into it on that podcast. That was a good
definitely. Right. Yeah, go check it out. It's Transcend the Podcast on any of your favorite podcast platforms. And I believe the title is actually just called Play Black Wall Street with Devon Truvel. Right. But before the episode is over, I will definitely make sure that I look it up and get the right info for y'all.
Sounds good. We are rounding the home base right now. If you're joining us live, definitely give us a like. Feel free to ask any questions you have inside the chat, and definitely go ahead and smash that subscribe button. We did make 1,000 subscribers on our Play Black Wall Street channel, but that is a separate YouTube channel. Now we need to get the M4 show to 1,000. So go ahead and smash that subscribe button and share this episode with a friend that you know is interested in starting a business and building generational wealth for their family. Now, last question for you, Asha. Right. There's tons of things that people can do with LLCs. There's tons of people that have LLCs out there. If you can give one really good plan of action, right, for people to get the most out of their LLC, maybe something that they never knew that they could do with their LLC, what would be that last action plan that you give to our listeners today?
Ooh, that's a good question. It really varies depending on what the kind of business is. But I think probably the biggest benefit is the biggest immediate benefit is being able to reduce your tax liability. So look at, just Google, what can I write off as a business owner, and look at all of those things and understand how to classify them. Hire a bookkeeper so that they can do it correctly, right? And get yourself a CPA or an enrolled agent to make sure that it's done correctly. But it can literally change your life overnight in terms of how much you're paying in taxes and what you're able to keep for yourself. The other thing too is like, keep tuning in to the attorneys, to the CPAs, ask those questions, show up when they have free info sessions, like get someone that you can trust and get someone who will help you think about the future. So I gave that example of the person who reduced the chiropractic business owner, had a really profitable business, but wrote everything off and looked like it was making $0. That's often what the question that I get, right, from our community is like, well, how do I save on taxes? How do I make it look like I'm not making any money? Paying taxes means you are making money. It's not a bad thing to pay taxes. You want to be strategic about what and how you pay, but it is by no means a bad thing if you want to pay taxes, or if you do pay taxes. But the other thing is, if you want to buy a house in a couple of years, if you want to make a big purchase and you're going to need to show proof of income, you cannot write everything off, because then that means you're not making any money. And then how are you going to pay for the loan you got to get, right? So it's important to think about what are the immediate benefits, but also what are you doing in the future? And let's put you and your family in a position to win in the future. Keep listening to the podcast. Keep following the people who are giving good advice. Check, double check, talk to folks, create that relationship, and know that one piece at a time, you're going to put those building blocks together and create your empire. Whatever that looks like for you, whether it's $1 million empire, $100,000 empire, or even just being able to leave and have enough money to give your kids a down payment on a house. That's why most of us can't get in, not because we can't make the rent, but because we don't have the 3%, 5%, 10, 15% saved to be able to get in there. You can do that for your kids, and you can do that before you go on to glory, if you're strategic about how you want to build your business and build your family.
Wow, there it is, y'all. If y'all don't feel fired up, if y'all don't feel fired up about this generational wealth, I don't know what to tell y'all. All right, make sure y'all tap in. I'm going to do some quick updates, Asha, and then I do want to ask, what are maybe 1 or 2 goals for 2023 that you have for your business or for yourself? And that will be our closeout. So I'm doing quick updates, and then I'll come right back to you. All right. So as you all know, y'all can go to playblackwallstreet.com to get Black Wall Street, the board game. Holidays are right around the corner. If you want Black Wall Street, the board game, either the Masterpiece Edition or the second edition, make sure y'all go to playblackwallstreet.com and teach your family about the legacy of Tulsa Black Wall Street. Teach your family about the differences between a sole proprietor, LLC, and corporation, and teach your family the power of money management. Playblackwallstreet.com. Make sure you get yours. We're sending out 500 games today to an entity that you all know. We can't say it yet. They'll get delivered by Monday, December 19th. It will be over social media. Y'all see the vibes, but it's gonna be a really good one. So make sure you get your game before they get sold out. All right. Appreciate y'all. Now we're gonna bring Asha right back up to talk about her goals for 2023. Hope you all are setting your goals. 2023 is right around the corner. Make sure you're entering the year with intention, with a vision, and with a group of people around you who can help you get to your dreams. But Asha, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. My goal for 2023 is to get back into alignment. So there's I don't know if it came from church or where, but things happen or people come into your lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I think that's true about work. I think that's true about friendships, relationships, all of that stuff. So there's some things and some seasons in my life that I feel like are closing, that were in alignment last year, a couple of years ago. but that aren't quite in alignment anymore. They're not bad, I'm just moving in a different direction. So my goal for 2023 is to really get back into alignment, to do all of the things that are in my zone of genius that come easily and naturally and are fun for me, and to delegate or eliminate all of those other things that are in those other 3 zones of incompetence, competence, or excellence. I just want to be in my zone of genius for 2023.
There it is. What is definitely in your zone of genius is this amazing business coaching, this amazing business law stuff, and you coming on the podcast. So we hope to have you a few times in 2023. If
I'm ready.
Beautiful.
I'll be there.
There it is. There it is. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to the M4 show, Melanated Married Millionaires in the making. I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. My beautiful second half is Sinclair, aka the health nerd. Make sure y'all secure the marriage. Make sure y'all secure the love. And of course, make sure y'all secure the bag. Peace.
Thank you for supporting the M4 show and our mission to increase the wealth of Black families.
If you received any value from this episode, any value at all, any, do us a favor and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, anything, all of them, all of them, wherever you're listening. Go ahead and like and subscribe.
And after you like and subscribe, make sure you send this episode to at least one family that you really want to see win. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.